Dan, let's talk about some of the reasons for eviction and what can be done to prevent it. What would you say are some of the most common reasons for eviction?
One of the most common is simply that the lease has expired and the landlord does not want to renew it. Assuming the landlord is not acting out of discrimination or in retaliation for the renter asserting his or her legal rights, the landlord is not required to let a renter stay in an apartment after the lease has expired.
Assuming that you pay rent monthly, the landlord needs to give you written notice at least 30 days before the end of your lease that you need to move out at the end of your lease, or an eviction action will be filed against you.
If the landlord does not give you this written notice, but rather allows you to stay in the apartment, then your lease becomes a month-to-month lease, which is basically a series of one-month leases. At any time, the landlord could give you a termination notice at least 30 days before the rental due date, specified in the notice, requiring you to move out on that day.
For example, if you pay rent on the first of the month and the landlord, let's say, wants you to move out at the end of June, the landlord would have to give you the termination notice by the 1st of June. If the landlord waits until June 8th to give you the notice, the landlord cannot evict you on July 8th, but would have to wait until the end of July.
But if you get one of these 30-day notices, you most likely will not be able to convince a court to let you stay longer. Your best bet is to try to work something out with the landlord to let you stay in the apartment, if that is what you want.
So, Dan, can the landlord evict me in the middle of winter?
It may be a cruel thing to do, but there is nothing, legally speaking, to prevent a landlord from evicting a tenant in the middle of winter. Now, let's talk about some other reasons for eviction, such as non-payment of rent.
We've discussed this in more detail elsewhere. Basically, if you do not pay your full rent on the day it is due, the landlord can give you a 7-day notice stating the amount of rent due. If you do not pay the rent in that 7 days, the landlord can evict you.
We've also discussed how the landlord can evict you with a 10-day notice for violating the terms of your lease or apartment rules, if you do not fix the problem within those 10 days.
Some of these problems can't be fixed, such as if your actions cause other tenants to be afraid for their safety. The landlord still has to give you a 10-day notice, but does not need to give you a chance to remedy the situation before filing an eviction.
And if this is your second violation of the same apartment rule within the last 6 months, then the landlord can give you a 5-day notice before evicting you, and again, does not need to give you a chance to fix the problem.
Now, if you intentionally inflict substantial damage on your property, over $400, which does not take that much these days, you can be evicted following a 24-hour notice. Even if you agree to pay to fix the property, you can still be evicted.
If you are responsible for paying utilities, and the utilities are shut off due to your failure to pay them, then the landlord can give you a 5-day eviction notice. However, if you pay to get the utilities reinstated within the first 3 days of the notice, you are allowed to stay. If this happens within the next 6 months, though, the landlord can evict you with a 3-day notice without giving you the opportunity to restart the utilities.
And you can be evicted for being absent from your apartment for more than 7 days without giving the landlord notice that you'll be gone. If you do not give the landlord notice that you'll be gone for more than 7 days, the landlord can consider the apartment abandoned and can not only begin the eviction process, but can also enter the apartment without further notice.
And finally, if you engage in illegal activity on the property, such as drug dealing or prostitution, the landlord can evict you using a 5-day notice, though you can't defend yourself in court by proving to the judge that you did not engage in the illegal activity or know about it. If you are convicted of conducting illegal activity on rented property, the court can issue an order evicting you immediately.
Is there anything special about mobile homes?
Usually you are renting the space on which the mobile home sits. The landlord can only evict you and your mobile home for non-payment of space rent, violating the law in a way that endangers the health or safety of others in the mobile home park, or not following reasonable requirements of the lease. If the landlord wants to change the use of the land from a mobile home park to something else, the landlord has to give 270 days notice. If you are renting the mobile home itself, then it is treated like any other apartment.
Wow, this is all pretty complicated. So you might want to consult a lawyer if you're facing eviction and not sure what to do.